At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are today. So Doug Crow with the Author Your Brand Show. I've got not one author, but two on today. And it's very important because the topic relates to couples, of course. So our guests include a guy who is the co-author of more than 30 books, including 4 New York Times bestsellers, 5 national bestsellers. His classic 2008 parable, The Go-Giver, so co-authored by our friend Bob Berg, earned the 2017 Living Now Book Awards Evergreen Medal for his contribution to positive global change. Wow, that sounds like a very important award. The co-author earned her degree in clinical psychology before going on to serve as an educator, therapist, corporate trainer, speaker, and coach. She currently serves and coaches GoGiver Marriage clients and leads a GoGiver Marriage coaches training program with training coaches from around the globe. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the finest couple of the year, the Go-Giver couple, John David Mann and Anna Gabriel Mann. How are you guys doing today?
We're great. We're great, Doug.
A dumb question, right? What'd you imagine if someone said, "How you doing today?" "Oh, lousy." Well, let's do the podcast, shall we? Yeah. So, power couple is kind of an understatement, of course, right? We've got the 30 books. This brilliant woman here who I had a chance to talk to about the parenting thing coming up next, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. John and Anna, you've been married for a while. You both had stellar careers. I've read most of the books, John. Amazing stuff. Of course, the fiction book I just finished up, Steel Fear, Edge of My Seat.
Sequel coming in 2 months, 3 months. Yes.
Nice. Where's the movie option? How's it looking?
Coming along. It's in development, as they say in Hollywood.
All right. Because I want a bit part. I want to be, on the ship, or you can kill me off or something.
Of course.
But no, we're talking about the book here, The Go-Giver Marriage. Now go ahead and hold it up. Here it comes. Now hold the whole stack of the previous one. People need to know who don't know this concept. That obviously we've heard
for context.
For context, that's right. Let me show me your fingers. How right? You type. You 30 books, man. That's amazing. So, Go-Giver Marriage. You all know the term go-getter, and somebody coined the phrase go-giver a while ago when you and Bob first came out with the Go-Giver. Where did that idea come from?
It came from this place in your brain where truths show up as counterintuitive statements that make you first go, wait, what? Yeah. Bob and I both have a fondness for counterintuitive logic, for things that make you go, as I said, wait, what? Because the truth is often found in paradox. And the core truth at the heart of the Go-Giver is this idea of living with generosity, that when you put other people's interests first, you end up benefiting as well as them. Right. It's expressed as cleanly and simply as I could do it in this paradoxical summary we call the Pindar principle, which is the more you give, the more you have. Right. Kind of flies in the face of our instinct, which is, as infants, gimme, it's mine, my toy. Don't take my toy, it's my toy. Right. If I give you my toy, then I won't have that toy.
It sounds almost so simple that people gloss over it, right? It's like, of course you got to give to get. You can't make a withdrawal from the bank without putting a deposit in there. I kind of get that. Yeah. But I think that your message goes way deeper than that. Yeah. In terms of you don't always expect a return. Am I right?
You can't expect a return. In a marriage, people want to think a marriage can be 50-50, but a 50-50 marriage is really a recipe for failure. It just doesn't work. No marriage is a 50-50. And there's going to be times when, it's blissful and amazing, and there's going to be times where there's real work to do. And so the message is deeper in that, neurologically, we're really geared for happiness. And there's just so much research and evidence that says that people who are giving and constantly giving live longer. Every cell in their body is affected. Their heart is healthier. They sleep better. They have general better health. And you know, their lives are happier. They have less depression, all of these things. So why wouldn't you want to give to the very person that you're marrying and that you are married to?
And here's an image, Doug.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, here's an image that I think that can help kind of ground that for people too.
Yeah.
You mentioned making a deposit in a bank. So here's the image I like to use, that you're not giving as in giving up, giving away, as in sacrificing, as in emptying yourself out. It's like this: there's you, and then there's this other person. There's the two of you. But then when you come together, there's this third entity, your overlap, which Anna calls the us. And what you're doing when you act with generosity toward your spouse, when you give more than 50%, right? When you just come from a spirit of generosity, what you're doing is you're feeding the us. You're actually making a deposit into, sometimes we call it the love bank. When you feed the us is like a tree that nourishes us. And so when you feed the us, we both end up benefiting. We both stand to do well from that, because the marriage is something that feeds us both in turn. It ain't a question of giving up so I'll have less. It's a question of feeding, so now we both get more.
That, it makes so much sense, because you hear these words like, you know, compromise, or I'm going to give in, or all the, you know, all the emasculations that I see in the Western American males that I can't stand. You know, come on, where's the stoicism? So you guys wrote this book. They're parables. Did you pull the parables from real life experience?
The parables. So the book is in. I should tell people the book is in two parts. Like any GoGiver book, there's a parable. We call the first half of the book the parable, and the second half of the book is called the practice. And I largely wrote the first half, or I'm, you know, the kind of the author of the first half. That's kind of my bailiwick. Anna wrote the second half of the book, and we both were in each other's drafts the whole time. It was a cooperative venture, but the parable is kind of my deal, and the practice is kind of her deal. Right. And in all the parables, any of the parables, they're always drawn from real life. They're always pulled from people. We know we recently had the very, very sad passing of Bob Proctor this week. Proctor was the model for Pindar in the GoGiver. You know, that's where Pindar came from, even down to the description of his wavy gray hair and the whole deal, his gravelly storyteller's voice. So yeah, in the parable in the GoGiver, there's lots of our experience. People who know Anna, when they read about Tom and Tess, they'll go, oh yeah, they'll recognize a lot of things from our lives.
Right. In your experience, Anna, working with couples, or you always work with a couple, or you work individually with people?
I work individually with people. We also do workshops with like 10 to 35 people in them that are Zoom events. And in those, we teach the 5 secrets, and we go into a real deep dive on what they are and what they mean. And then the second half of the training is actually question and answer from people in the training. And that's always
5 secrets.
Yes, the five secrets to lasting love.
Can you give us 3 of those secrets, so they have to buy the book later? Can you give us the top 3?
We'll talk about one each for sure. But each secret demands so much explanation, in the sense of, even though they're very secret, I mean, very easy to understand and easy to implement, they are based on developmental theory. So each secret has a basis in something that you needed as a child that you still need now. And so that's the part that we really like to not just name them off, because it's the same with the GoGiver. If you just name them off, people go, oh yeah, because they the name for each one just doesn't give the background or the meaning. But yeah, I mean,
Can I speak to something? Sure. I just want to speak to you know, you said, Doug, do you do it with couples? You work with individuals. One of the hallmarks of the whole approach in the book is that you don't have to do the work as a couple necessarily for the work to work for the couple. And honestly, practically speaking, in many situations, and this, you know, Anna has done this work for years, that in many situations you have in a couple, one is ahead and one is behind, in the sense that one wants to work actively to improve the marriage, to change things, and the other one is not so sure. The other one's dragging their heels, or the other one doesn't even think there's a problem. That's so common, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
in fact, it's one of the great handicaps of marriage therapy is that, well, one of them's not into it, so the whole thing falls apart. It doesn't have to all fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
With our work with the 5 secrets, one person can start putting these secrets into practice,
Mm-hmm.
and it can shift the dynamic in such a way that the whole family comes along. And in time, we frequently see that the other person will start to say, hey, I want to know more about that too. But it doesn't have to be that way at first. So it can be work with a single individual.
Nice. All right. Yeah. It sounds like, you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. That sometimes
Correct.
the others around you. I get it.
Exactly.
So give me if you want to go deep, please do on one of the secrets.
Alrighty. One of my favorite secrets is the very first secret. And it's a secret that's really easy to put into place. And people think it's so simple that they think, well, of course, my wife or my husband knows that I appreciate them. But it's the secret to appreciate. And yet we find all the time that people, when we ask them, what is it that you love about your spouse? They'll go, they just get this blank look on their face. And one of the characters in our book, she can't think of anything. And suddenly she blurts out, well, he makes a wicked lasagna.
It counts.
That's the best she can do in that moment, because she's accustomed to the criticism factor. She's accustomed to finding ways to find fault with him, but she's not accustomed to the place of looking for ways to appreciate him. I mean, he could be just the guy that brings her cup of tea in the morning on her bedside table, which John does every day. And yet it's like, if you don't acknowledge that, if you don't say, hey, I love it that you bring me tea every morning, and thank you. This is so nice. I've never had anyone spoil me like this. Thank you.
Nice.
That's a real moment, because then they actively feel like, wow, I've been appreciated. This is sweet.
Feels nice.
When you're a kid, if you don't have parents or grandparents or somebody who's telling you, oh, what a big boy are you? Or, look at you, you can read that book all by yourself. Wow. You need that sense of feedback. And when we talk about appreciate, it isn't a passing compliment. It isn't like, hey, babe, you're looking good today. That's not a moment of appreciation. A moment of appreciation is taking the time to stop them in their tracks and actually speak authentically to what it is that you love about them.
Right. And is it always an audible? I mean, is there other way people communicate visually and audibly and tactily? I mean,
people do it through text as well. I mean, I constantly send John texts letting him know things that I appreciate. We ask people that we work with to start out with 3 times a day, because 3 times a day is pretty easy.
Doable.
Yeah. But honest to goodness, I would say John and I, in our relationship, we probably appreciate each other 6 or 7 times a day.
Oh.
And
or 10 or 12.
Yeah. It just changes the tone. I mean, and it also, again, neurologically, it takes you out of the groove of thinking negatively and thinking about the things that irritate you and make you feel crabby. And it puts you on the track of, oh, what is it that I love about this guy or gal? And, it can be simple things like, I never tell you that how much I appreciate you taking out the trash. But I want you to know the fact that I never need to think about it really matters to me. And I just want you to know, I just love you, babe. Thank you.
That is so brilliant. You're right about the thing about you can't hold 2 thoughts at the same time.
Right.
So by spending that 1 second or 10 seconds in that state, you have to, number one, think about it. So there's another 10, 20, 30 seconds. And then there's the residual aspect. So yeah, I can see how that would make a big difference in the energy of the day, right?
And a huge thing is that we all know this already. We all do this already. At least typically we do it when we're first in love. You do it when you're in that romantic, fervor, right? Where everything is glowing because you just met the love of your life, or you just met somebody that you really, really have strong feelings for. So you do that when you're in courtship, when you're in romance, because that's the focus of your life.
Right.
And then over time, other things take over the focus of your life. You've got professional issues going on. Maybe you have kids, you have issues, you have finances, you have stuff going on that demands your attention. And so all the thing about the stuff we appreciate about each other is still there, but it moves to backstage. It moves to the back of our minds. We start to take it for granted. And we sort of have this unspoken assumption in our mind, she already knows I love her. He already knows I think these great things about her. And so it isn't necessary to say it again. It's like love is never having to say you're sorry. Yeah, BS. Because love is learning how to say you're sorry, learning how to say how much you appreciate her, learning how to say the things that need to be said because they need to be said for the rest of your life. That need that Anna talks about that the child has to be praised and cooed over, it never goes away. We're all still little kids on the inside.
Yep.
Sure. Absolutely. So the big question then is not for the newlyweds. That's easy. Oh, I love you. Of course you do.
Right.
It's the person that's overstressed or going through bankruptcy, or they have, twins. All these things come up. I don't have time for that. I've got immediate things to take care of. I'll get to you later. I'm just saying this might have happened to somebody sometime. You have tools, tips, techniques on how to keep that. One of my authors calls it limerence. The energy of the dating, continue dating as you're married. How do you do that?
I'll just say this, that one of it is the whole thing of if you're gonna find new things every day to tell your partner that you love about them, and it isn't like an iron rule that they have to all be new all the time. You can repeat stuff because it keeps being true. Yeah. I think Anna is the most thoughtful person I've ever met. Well, I'm going to think that tomorrow also, and so I may say it again and again and again. But you want to be looking for new things all the time. Okay. Well, you know what? In order to look for new things, you need to investigate. You need to actually actively learn about your partner. And we say, there's a line in the book that says every individual is an undiscovered continent. And that's true. Every person is this rich background, this treasure trove of stuff you don't know about them. You think you know them? You think you know everything about them? Ha 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 ha. Tip of the iceberg. There's so much to learn. And so being in a relationship, a lifelong relationship, is being in a lifelong process of investigation and discovery. And that's what you're doing when you're courting, when you're first in that romance. Sure. Well, you can keep doing it when you're 90. There's so much to learn. You'll never run out of stuff to learn and find out and discover that you love about this other person, if you take the trouble to go looking.
Look. So what's the most recent thing you've learned about Anna, John?
I was just going to say, well, first I want to let her say what she was going to say.
I was just going to add on to that, but I go ahead, John.
Oh, I just learned, well, I'll tell you something recently I learned, because we've never done this before. I've written, as you know, published over 30 books. Right. Anna's read all of them. She's been my first reader. We've done a lot of business together. She's been a great critic of my books. She's been a great reader and appreciator of my books. We're enormously helpful to each other in so many ways, but we've never written a book together before. We've never done podcasts together before. And something that I just learned about Anna in the last couple of weeks is I love doing podcasts with her. And I wasn't sure, Doug. I didn't know that, because I thought it's going to be weird doing it with two people, because we're going to step on each other's toes, and it's going to be, I'm having the time of my life. I am having a ball. She's a phenomenal interview partner. So, who knew?
Anna, you had a thought about that? I interrupted the flow here, so go ahead. We're going to say you can add on to the statement.
Oh, well, I actually don't remember where I was going with it, but
okay. I love that about you.
Well, I feel like the thing that I would focus on if I were really going to try to make a marriage be as whole as possible, and this is going to sound, terribly self-promotional, but the 5 secrets, each secret is a gem, because each secret is based on developmental theory. What you needed when you were little, you still need now. And also each secret has woven into it the opportunity to overcome trauma and difficult things from your childhood. Yeah, because all of us have that. All of us have baggage. And I like to say that it magically unpacks as soon as the honeymoon's over. And that's really when all the issues start to rise. If you had a father who was dismissive and sort of angry all the time, then you're going to be one of two things. You're going to have either married someone who's dismissive and angry all the time, or you're going to be dismissive and angry. So you either take it on or you attract it. And that isn't a bad thing, because it's your brains and your person trying to heal itself. We're attracting what we need to heal our wounds. And so if you can be compassionate, not only to yourself, but to your partner as well, then you leave open the door for great healing to occur. I mean, marriage is a great opportunity to heal
That's
if you
amazing.
leave the door open.
There's so much. I have like 18 rabbit holes in that one. Let me collect my thoughts. I've talked to plenty of people like you there who have broken a cycle of their parents, grandparents, blah, blah, and some who have not broken the cycle, right? They tend to like, this is the way I was raised. This is, I'm going to spank you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What is it differentiating when someone breaks that cycle or doesn't break it?
Oh, what a great question, Doug.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think that when we're children, when a parent does something that's really offensive and really wrong, there's a voice in us that knows that it was really wrong. And that is something that, as you grow, you really know you don't want to repeat it.
Yeah.
It's not something repeatable.
Some people do. They can't help it.
Some people are. I think that people have their own desire to keep their blinders on and be unconscious. But if you're going to be married or a parent, self-awareness and emotional intelligence are the two most critical factors. And self-awareness being number one, honestly. Emotional intelligence really serves you in those moments where your spouse is really irritable and you are getting triggered. And if you can stay emotionally intelligent, then you can look at it and remain an individual. And you can look at her or him and say, wow, you're having a bad day. Do you want to talk about it? It isn't about you. It's about them. But people don't do that. Go ahead, John. You have something to add.
I just want to add to that. I think, Doug, another for me, I mean, I am not a psychologist or a therapist. I just play one on TV. Anna is a real one, but I'm a commentator. I think that another ingredient in this issue of how do you become somebody who breaks that cycle, when you have someone in your life who unconditionally believes in you and lets you know it, and lets you know it enough and repeatedly enough and clearly enough so that you start to actually get it and believe that they're not just pulling your chain. I think that liberates you. It liberates you to step into new patterns, step out of old patterns, take things on. That could be a spouse, and we talk about that in the book. It could also be, a coach, a thesis advisor, a teacher, a teammate. If you have somebody in your life who just really does that for you, I think that sometimes gives you the fuel that you need to step out of your past and into your future.
I think that should be taught like to everybody. It's so big. I see it in schools and the work I do with Rotary and the youth thing where kids are just, told something. And I can tell that like they've been told this stuff and it's not true and they believe it.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, how many is one person to say, I believe in you. Go be a flute player. You can do it. It's just, man.
Yeah, we have a friend who's a president of a college, and we have been talking to him about teaching not only the GoGiver, but the GoGiver Marriage at that college, because we feel like, kids get out of college at 22, and a lot of them have already got a steady girlfriend that they're pretty intently want to get married to. And a lot of them are married by 23 to 26 to that same person they met in college. Right. Well, you're so young at that point. You kind of don't know who you are. And certainly she doesn't completely know who she is either.
Right.
I mean, you can be very intelligent and very together in your life and still not emotionally have that ability to transcend the issues that come up in a marriage. And so
what you read, what you experience, and I keep going back to the brain science that you correct me if I'm wrong, because you're more up to speed in this, but like, isn't the brain still developing up until about age 26?
Yes, it is. It's still developing. It doesn't actually harden, as they say, until 26. And that's when you see kids take a leap in terms of their maturity. They suddenly, between 26 and 30, it's like a different kid emerges. They suddenly are starting to think on their feet, and They're really starting to examine what has happened and what role they played in it and whether or not they want to repeat this. They're taking more responsibility for their life. So you see a shift. But at the same time, I really believe these 5 secrets. I mean, I would like to teach them all over the world. And the reason is that these 5 secrets are so powerful, and they do address the issues of pain and so-called for better or for worse. One of the secrets is totally devoted to the issue of for better or for worse, in richness or in sickness or in health,
Right.
For rich or for poorer. And it's all about the poorer, the sickness, and
the worse.
The lack of
And the
health,
worst.
the worst. Right? So,
Yeah.
it's so difficult to navigate a marriage, but you have to feel like there's no back door and that you're committed, and you have to be willing to sit down and discuss things that are hard, and to be really compassionate and to not get into shouting matches. You have to avoid name calling. There can't be any criticism or contempt that's a regular item, or else, you're just barking for trouble.
Right. Is there this is like the celebrity personal question now. I'm gonna put my Oprah hat on. So I listen to you guys speak. You're eloquent, professional, you say the right things. Now, did you ever snap at each other for a second before you said, no, you're having a bad day? Did you ever I shouldn't have said that?
Oh, we beat each other regularly, right, honey?
Yeah. I mean,
Constantly.
Has there ever been a marriage, Doug, that hasn't snapped at each other? I mean, hello.
Hey, so let me tell you something about that, Doug. There will be times, and this has been like a revelation for me. And there have been so many with Anna, but there will be times where I am in a gnarly mood or a snarly mood, for whatever reason. Something hurts. I didn't sleep well, but more frequently for me, it's because I'm dealing with something frustrating in my career, in my professional situation. And so I'll be snappy, and part of me is watching me be snappy, and part of me is watching Anna and marveling that she doesn't react, doesn't respond, just kind of is there. And I can almost like get behind her and see from her eyes, see her just taking it in, and he's being snappy and like not doing anything about that. I think the ability to not personalize and not react to wherever the other person's at, which I think Anna might call individuation. The ability to remember to stay in the place of she's a person, I'm a person. If she's angry, it's her anger. If she's snippy, it's her snippiness. It's not mine. I didn't create it. I didn't generate it. I'm not responsible for it. But I am here for her. She has done that for. I'm generally a pretty sunny personality, but I have my moments when I get cranky. And she is like, it's almost like funny to her. She just like waits and she's calm. And then later in the day, invariably she says, that was you were so cute when you were snappy today. And I'll laugh with her. And they're like, that's the end of that. And it could have become a fight. It could have become a thing. She could have reacted, and then I could have reacted to her reaction, and then blah, 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 blah. And
also the other thing I try to do in those moments is to wait until he's kind of stormed out of the kitchen and gone back to his desk, and maybe he's gotten some work done. When he comes back out later on to say, I know you're working on that proposal. Is it super frustrating? Or is there something that I can do to make your day better? I don't ask him immediately in that moment, what's wrong? I ask him if there's something I can do to make your day better. Because I can see that you're having a hard time. You want to take notes?
Come on, this is really good stuff.
Yeah. I can see that you're having a hard time. Is there anything I can do to make your day better? And he will like melt like a puddle right in front of me. And he'll be like, oh, and then he'll immediately say things like, oh, this happened and then that happened. And the situation over here has been really sort of plaguing me, but I don't want to think about it, but I have to think about it. And he'll go into his little list of things that are just sort of cramming his brain at the same time that he's got a novel due.
Which immediately makes me feel better, just being able to share that with her without worrying about how she's going to take it, because she's just going to be fine. She's going to hear it all.
Oh my gosh, Anna! I need the Anna app or the little angel on my shoulder. Phrases that is gold. We should teach that to Russia and the Ukraine. What's really bothering you?
I want to teach it to everybody. Yeah, I want to teach it to everybody, Doug. And if you do the Colby assessment, I'm high on innovation and also on facts. And I really, really love teaching the basics because emotions are so profound and we feel them at such deep levels. And depending on what happened to us when we were younger, we feel them at even more intense levels. And it's to be understood. And yet there are ways that we could all deal that would just make it so much easier. The reason we wrote this book and the reason that when the original GoGiver came off the printer and I read it, and I said to John, wow, this is an amazing book. Oh my goodness. And then the next words out of my mouth were, and this would be an incredible book about marriage. And we have been talking about the secrets to lasting love. And we have been talking about this book for 16 years. And we finally wrote it. And we wrote it because it was like the pandemic happened. And I was like, marriages are going down in flames right now. People need this and we could teach it.
Wow. And they can. Where do they go to get this book? We got a page up, pre-sale page, I think.
GoGiverMarriage.com. GoGiverMarriage.com.
Wow.
We got. I should mention that we have because the book doesn't come out till March 8th. We do have a pre-order special offer. So if you buy the book and come to the website, and it'll show you where to plug in your order number or your receipt or whatever. Right. Then we've got a couple of gifts we put together just for those people, and 2 of them are little master classes that we recorded from our living room couch. Nice. On the mindset of lasting love and dealing with conflict. Yeah. And then one of them is a live fireside chat we'll do with Q&A a week after the book comes out.
Outstanding. Want to hold that book up
with Dan. With Dan Rockwell. Dan Rockwell will be our host.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
It is on the website. Is it Go-Giver or is it GoGiverMarriage.com?
Nope. All one word. GoGiverMarriage.com.
No dash. Go ahead.
No
also,
dash.
just for your listeners to know, we have workshops happening every single month, and they are Zoom events with 10 to 35 people in them. There's lots of opportunity to ask questions and interact with us directly. The training is very deep dive on the 5 secrets to lasting love. And people can sign up on the website, and we'll just let you know when there's a space in the next available workshop.
Nice.
And then it's just a done deal. And they're very inexpensive because we want them to be accessible to people.
Right.
So
I last question in terms of efficacy here is there's different stages of relationships, right? There's, courtship, marriage, the, kid phase, and then empty nesters. Is there obviously there's a vulnerable times along all of those, but does the Go-Giver process work no matter where you are?
I'm going to say no matter where you are, and also really to an exceptional extent, these 5 secrets and the principles of the book really can be applied to any relationship. I mean, to work relationship, the workplace, with colleagues, with partners, with siblings and parents, because they're really just about human beings. But in particular about marriages, I think it's great for young couples who are about to get married or who have just recently gotten married. I think it's great for podcast hosts who are affianced in the very near future, and if you know any. And I do think it's also really great for people who've been married for decades. Yeah, because it isn't just a question of preventing divorce. It's also a question of enriching the marriage so that as you go from decade and year after year, it becomes more and more fulfilling, not, kind of coasting.
Yeah, I love it, man. I can't wait to get my copy. I ordered 2, so I can't wait to read it and come to a fireside chat, hang out. Thank you very much, guys. Get this book. Go to the GoGiver. Hold it one more time, John. Hold that book up. GoGiverMarriage.com. Get the book. Have a nice fireside chat with the mans. Love you guys so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Love you, Doug. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. All right. And that concludes our show today. Don't forget to click below for show notes. The link to that book is there, and some goodies for you if you subscribe. This is Doug Crow with Author Your Brand.